Mr. Bromberg, how are you?
Hi, Harvey. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, can't complain.
Good, good, good. Yeah. Hopefully, you and the family are well, having a good Moed.
Yep, yep.
Terrific, terrific. I assume you're in Boca Raton.
Nope, in Staten Island.
Uh-huh.
No, here with the family.
Oceanside, New York.
Yeah, everyone is here now.
Everyone is somewhere.
No, they're all here. Actually, Kevin came in also.
Yeah, really? Wow.
He came in last night.
So you all fit
Yaakov's
under
in
one
Israel.
roof?
Yeah, they're all in one roof.
Uh-huh.
Yaakov's still in Israel. He's the one in Israel.
Okay, okay. Baruch Hashem. When you going to Israel to visit?
I'm trying to get into Israel for the wedding in November.
Uh-huh. You have a wedding coming up, I guess.
Yeah, Yaakov's getting married, so what could I tell you?
Okay, I hope it works. I hope
I
everything
hope
works.
so also. You know,
And any
gotta be.
idea when Rabbi Green is starting?
He said originally about a quarter to, which is just about, well, 2 minutes
time
ago.
were you on yesterday?
Yes,
What time did you start yesterday?
about a quarter to.
About a quarter to. Okay.
So he should be on very shortly. He said it would
Okay.
run late.
Is it raining by you in Staten Island?
No, the sun is out now.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I guess. Okay. Eventually the sun
It
will come out
poured
here too.
yesterday. It poured, but
Yeah.
and the sukkah is soaking wet still. So what can I
Yeah,
tell you?
right. Okay. So I
Where are
guess
you
we'll
at?
have
You're
to
out on the island, right?
what's that?
Where are you in West Hempstead?
Oceanside.
Oceanside. Yeah,
Close.
same thing. Close enough.
Close to where West. Yeah, the sun is starting to come out here now too. Just looking in the sukkah now. Yeah. Maybe we even catch breakfast in the sukkah. Who knows?
No, I tried, and it's like a
Too
swimming
wet.
pool. It's like a swimming pool out there.
Too wet. Okay. Well, hopefully tonight will be a beautiful night. Hopefully.
Hopefully,
Regards
we'll
to
try. We'll try again.
regards to Lee. Take
I
care.
will.
Be well. I'm
Okie
gonna
doke.
hang in there.
All right. I'm gonna wait until he comes on. He'll be on shortly.
Okay, guys. I see Bob is there. I assume Harvey and Steve, all right?
Yep. No, only Bob. I don't see Steve.
Okay,
Bob
could
is
see.
here somewhere.
Morning, good morning, good morning, Rabbi Green. Good morning, hi, everyone.
There he
morning.
is.
Okay. All right, that's great.
Okay.
All right, we'll get underway shortly. We should be doing Kafdala this morning, right? Problem is that they're long amudim too. So it doesn't make it any easier. Today's the 4th, right? All right, as the other guys come in, I'm going to start the Ted and Zev are here, so they'll be coming in. So I'm just going to start with the sponsors since we're recorded. Learning sponsors, Arnie Garlick in memory of Malcolm Pro Man and Philip Man. And Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch and Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch. Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch and Yerivka Pro Razna bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch. And family murdered in the Holocaust. Arav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Dia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch. Marsha Federbush and family in memory of her husband, Dr. Ariel Paul Federbush, Royal Pinchas ben Arav Shimon. Sharon and Fred Liska, their family and many friends, in memory of her dear mom, Harriet Friedman Edelbas Yaakov. Leslie and Gail Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell and Irving and Pearl Kaplan. Friends of Avi Gitler, Avramea ben Shimon and Martha Gitler, Sharon Bat Yeshaya. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris. Sarah Tova Bat Yisrael Dov in her memory. Friends of Malka Levi, Malka Bat Yosef. Friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef Ben Chaim. Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata Bat Asher. Month of Learning by Lynn Rappaport in memory of her husband, Avram Ben Siona Cohen, Ron and Susan Podolsky in memory of his father, Tzvi Ben Pinchas. A week of learning by Ari and Judy Cohen in memory of his mother, Fega Bat Yechiel, and her mother, Hinda Bat Moshe Zachariah Halevi. A day of learning plus Torah fund. No, today's right, the 24th. Rita Goldberg, a day of learning in memory of her husband, Kalman Naftali Ben Yaakov. And for the 25th, Susan and Fred Koss, in memory of her mother, Edith Esther Bat Pinchas. Also Rosalind Greenberg Haskell, in memory of her mother, Krena Bat Meir. Okay. So that is it for okay. Here comes Zev. All right. And I assume Ted is behind you at some point. Okay, and the guys, at least two of the guys are online already. Right. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to start this morning on Kaf Gimel Amud Beis with the beginning of the Perek, the new Mishnah, even though we covered it a bit yesterday. And that will help us move on. Amud Beis of Kaf Dalet is not too terribly long, so time-wise we should be more or less okay today. Right? Okay. So Ein Sadin, we are not permitted to hunt, in this case to fish. Dagim min habevarim, fish in pools. B'yom tov on Yom Tov. Right, the Gemara is going to discuss why. Ve'ein notnin lifneihem mazonot, and we don't give them any food in advance. The implication being that maybe the food was used as a means of trying to draw the animals to be able to hunt or capture them. Okay. Then the Gemara Mishnah continues about Sadin Chayav Ha'of min habevarim, but we may hunt for undomestic animals or birds from whatever enclosures they are in. And we can give them food. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, he says, Lo kol habevarim shavin. Not all of the enclosures are the same, are the equivalent. Zeh haklal. Hey, this is the general principle he suggests. Kol hamechusa. If it's something is lacking, in other words, if it's a small enclosure, so the animal can hide, Seida asur, then the hunting is forbidden. V'she'ino mechusar, and if it's not a small and lacking, if it's not a small enclosure, Seida mutar, then the hunting is permitted. That's where we left off yesterday. Okay? Okay, so I was just reviewing the Mishnah. All right. Amen. So now our new Gemara starts. So minhu. Okay, so we challenge us with a bright birds. Seen may hand beyond. You cannot hunt them whatsoever on Yom Tov. And you cannot give them food. So this seems to directly contradict Chaya Achai. And we have a problem with what the Mishnah and Braita say regarding birds. So the Gemara tries to come up with an answer. Bishlema Chaya Achaya Lo Kasha. We could agree that maybe regarding the undomestic animals, there isn't a problem. Why? Rabbi Yehuda. We could argue one is the view of Rabbi Yehuda, who considered, right, they're not considered trapped in a small enclosure, and therefore you can't hunt. Rabbanan. And the other might be, one of those, the Braita could be according to Rabbi Yehuda, and the Mishnah could be according to the rabbis. Why? Ditnan, as we see in the following example, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, right? Hatzad Sipur LeMigdal, one who is hunting a bird that gets caught in a closet, right? I'm not sure if that's the best translation, but okay. Both of them, both Art Scroll and Koran use the same term. Okay. Utzvi lebeit lebayit, or who a bird in a house. Chayav. One is
A deer.
Utzvi, right? Utzvi lebayit. A deer in a house. One is chayav. In other words, they've committed an avera. They're over. Lebayit hu de mechayev. Okay. inside a house, we say that the person is chayiv.
There happens to go into the house. If you close the door, I think. Then you're out
That's
there.
the point.
But if you don't close the door, it's still open.
Right. Aval bevarim, lo. But for enclosures, no. Right? And that was the view of Rebbe. Okay. Hide. All right. It's forbidden to hunt. Right? But the sages say, Sipur lemigdal, utzvi legana. But according to the sages, a bird in
Having a lot of trouble hearing you, Rabbi.
But we still have a problem then between the Mishnah and the Braita regarding birds. Tema, and if you want to say, ha, nami lokasha, here too, there should not necessarily be a problem. Why? Because we could argue, ha, bevar mikol. One case we're talking about a roofed enclosure, ha, bevar she'eno mikura. In another case, maybe we're talking about an enclosure that's not roofed over. Okay? For example, Vaha, bayit bevar mikora adami. And here we might say that a house is similar to a roofed-in enclosure. Okay, ubein the Rabbi Yehuda, ubein the Rabbanan, and whether it was Rabbi Yehuda or closed area. Okay, the bird could fly around from one room to the next or whatever. And therefore one couldn't capture or hunt it. Now what happens? Amar Rabba Barbarav Huna, he says as follows. Hacha, but sipor deror askina. We're talking about I translate it as a free flying bird, a small bird like a sparrow. Okay? And says the Gemara, She'ena mikabelet merut. The bird doesn't accept any authority. In other words, it's just free flying. It goes where it wants, right? The Tana Debe Rabbi Yishmael, as was taught in the Academy of Rabbi Yishmael, Lama Nikra Shma Sipor Dror.
The wording here in the article, we're dealing with a D-E-R-O-R bird.
Dror. Just what all they did is transliterate it.
Oh,
okay. Right. So that's what the Koran suggests. It's a bird that doesn't accept authority. In other words, it's hard to capture. And they suggest it was a sparrow. Okay, because they're small birds and they can, right? Right. If you ever watch sparrows, they're just fleeting right all over the place, right? Right. So why I called it Sipor Dror? Shadara Babayit Kibisadeh. Because it lives in a house just like in a field. In other words, it flutters around anyway. Hashta, the atit lahachi. Now that you've arrived to this conclusion, so to speak, chaya achaya nami lo kasha. Regarding a undomestic animal to another, between the Mishnah and the Braita, there's no problem. Ha bebevar katan. Here we could say it's talking about a small enclosure. Ha bebevar gadol. And here, in this case, we could talk about a larger enclosure. Hechidami. How is that possible? Asks the Gemara. Bevar katan. When we say a small enclosure, Hechidami, what do we mean? Hechidami b'bevar gadol. What do we mean by a large enclosure? Right? Amar Rav Ashi. So Rav Ashi explains as follows. Kol hecha derahid abatre, wherever the person can run after the animal, umate la bechad shechya, and he's able to arrive there in a single stoop. In other words, in a single act. Right? In other words, you're able to sort of just leap over it, or it's a quick run, and you capture the animal. Bevar katan. That's what we would consider a small enclosure. Ve'idach, and the other, bevar gadol, would be a large enclosure. Inami, are also possible to explain it this way. Kol hecha deika ukse bevar gadol. Wherever there are corners, in other words, a variety of corners where the animal can hide, that would be a large enclosure. Ve'idach, and the other, bevar katan, that would be a small enclosure. Inami, or I'll give another option, it says, Kol hecha de nafle tula de katle ahadade bevar katan. Any place where the shade from one wall is going to fall on another wall. Okay? In other words, it's a small area, that's a small enclosure. Inami, or possible. Okay? We said that, I'm sorry. All right? Ve'idach, and the other, bevar gadol, and the other would be a large enclosure. Okay? So we have a number of definitions of what would be a large enclosure versus a small enclosure. The small enclosure would be permitted to hunt the animal, the large enclosure, not so. Okay.
They're,
No, I'm sorry, just the opposite.
they're hunting this animal
For Yom Tov,
for food.
for food. Okay? Right. Now, new piece in the Gemara. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Lo kol habevarim shavin v'chulei. Not all of the enclosures are the same. Amar Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. In the name of Shmuel, ultimately, halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. The law in this case is like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. So what happens? Amar le Abaye. So Abaye says to Rav Yosef as follows: halacha miklal de pligi. Are you stating the law because there are those, I'm translating it, who argue against him, that disagree? Amar le. So Rav Yosef responds to Abaye, Umay nafka lachmina. What difference does it make to you, so to speak? Okay, in other words, why do you question? Amar le, Abaye responds back, Gamra gamor, zemor tatehe. Right, a common answer. Okay, this is learning. Should I just treat it like a song, so to speak? Okay, no, in other words, I need to understand and go through it with some detail. Okay, new piece from our Mishnah. Zeh haklal kol hamichusar tzeda. Right, saying that which was lacking or a small enclosure. Right? Hechi dami michusar tzeda. What do we mean when we say that it's a lacking, it's a small, right, area? Amar Rav Yosef, again, Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. In the name of Shmuel, ultimately, Kol she'omer hava mitzuda v'nitzudanu. Let us go and hunt, and we'll bring a trap along with us. Okay, Amar le Abaye. Okay, in other words, what do we mean by not every enclosure is the same? Sometimes animals are in big areas, some in small. So Abaye questions it and says, Vaha avazim v'tarnagolim. But what about ducks and chickens, says Abaye? She'omrim hava mitzuda v'nitzudenu. That sometimes we say, let's hunt them and bring a trap. V'tanya. And there's a Braita that teaches Hatzad Avazim V'Tarnagolim Vionei Hardisaot, one who hunts, right, ducks and chickens and domestic pigeons, patur, is exempt, right? So why would you say that that's forbidden? Okay. Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, again, Amar Shmuel, in the name of Shmuel. Halalu, in other words, these animals, geese and chickens, what are we talking about? Ba'im lekluvan. They return to their coops, la'erev, at night. Vahalalu, and these others, ein ba'im lekluvan la'erev. They don't return to their coops at night. Okay. V'harei, so the question the Gemara says is, V'harei yonei shovach. But what about the pigeons that come, or doves in a dovecote? V'yonei aliyah, or pigeons or doves that dwell in attics, for example. The ba'im lekluvim la'erev, that they also return to their coops at night. V'tanya, and their Braita teaches, Hatzad yonei shuvach v'yonei aliyah, one who hunts pigeons or doves from a dovecote, or doves from a attic, right? V'tzipurim shekananu b'tfichim, or birds that have made their nests in tfichin, and tfichin are sort of small earthenware barrels that are partly broken. And so people then take the shards from those barrels, right, and put them around their house so that birds can make nests in the shards, and then people can use the eggs that are laid on the nests. Okay? That's what tfichin are. The Beirut. Okay, and they put these out in buildings. Okay. Now, chayav. The Mishnah said that the person then who does this, okay, would be chayav to hunt on Yom Tov or Shabbos. Ella rather, Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, he says Amar Shmuel in the name of Shmuel. Halalu ba'im lekluvim la'erev, umezonotehen alecha. These other animals, these other birds like chickens and geese, they return not only to their coops at night, but it's your responsibility to provide them feed. V'halalu, and these others, habayim lekluvan la'erev, they may return to their coops at night. Ve'ein mezonotan alecha, but it's not your responsibility, excuse me, to feed them, right? Rav Meri Amar, he says, Hani avide l'ribui. Okay, maybe it's a situation that these tend to run away from people. Vahani lo avide l'ribui, and these tend not to run away from people. Okay, no, the Gemara tells us, Kul hunami avide l'ribui. All of these birds tend to run away from people. Lekluvan, okay, ka'amrinan. They run to their coops, the avide l'rebui, okay? And the people have to sometimes go after them, okay, before they go into their coops.
I would think that they're easier to save them from the coop.
Well, the question would be, if an animal tends to run to its coop, what kind of a chicken do you want it to be? An egg-laying chicken, right? So you want it for its eggs as opposed to slaughter it to use for the meal. So maybe that's the implication there as well. All right? Okay, we get a new Mishnah. Mitzudot chaya va'of, v'dagim. Okay? The nets or the traps for a wild, a non-domestic animal, or a bird, or fish, shesa'an me'erev yom tov, that were done In other words, the trap is put out and set on the eve of the holiday. Lo yitome hen biyom tov. One cannot, right, remove what's caught on Yom Tov, right? Ela im kain yuda shenitzodu me'erev Yom Tov. Unless it's known that the animal was, I've used the word captured, okay, on the eve of the holiday. Uma'aseh b'nachri echad, and there once was an incident with a Gentile, okay, shehavi dagim leRabban Gamliel, that he brought fish to Rabban Gamliel, va'amar, and Rabban Gamliel said, mutarin hein, that the fish are permitted. Ela she'ein ritzoni lekabel himenu, but it's not my desire to accept it from you. Now, we don't know what the exact reason was. Koren suggests that the Rabban Gamliel was not happy with this particular person for whatever reason, and therefore didn't accept his gift. Okay, but the implication seemed to be something that needs further attention, and so the Gemara is going to have to deal with this, and so it does.
And all these trappings, the animal has to still be alive.
Yeah.
If it dies, it's of no use to you.
Right.
Well, it's not true. How are you going to trap a dead animal?
No, I don't know. It depends on the trap.
You know?
If he's
No,
trapped-
it doesn't. It doesn't kill the animal. Okay. Right.
how do you-
Okay.
How do you trap a dead animal? It's a good question.
Ma'aseh store. So the Gemara's first question is: was this story brought in the Mishnah in order to contradict what it said? Chasuri michsura v'hachi ketani. Something's missing, and this is what it comes to tell us, to teach us. Safek muchan. Okay, we have a doubt whether this animal is eligible. In other words, whether it's acceptable, okay, and designated, prepared, so to speak, for Yom Tov. Asur, then it's forbidden. Rabban Gamliel matir. And then in this story, Rabban Gamliel says it's permitted. Uma'asen nami b'nachri echad. And the incident also was regards to a Gentile. Shehevi dagim leRabban Gamliel, who brought fish for Rabban Gamliel. Va'amar mutarin, and he said they were permitted. Ela she'ein ritzoni lekabel himenu. But it's not my desire to accept it. In other words, Rabban Gamliel was being machmir on himself. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. He says, Rav Yehuda in the name Shmuel, Ein halacha Rabban Gamliel. The law is not like Rabban Gamliel. Ve'ika dematne. And there are those that teach it. Aha, on this way. Tanya Safek Muchan. Why? Because they teach it according to this Braita that there's a doubt whether this animal, this food stuff, was available. I'll use that word for Muchan. Okay, available to be eaten on Yom Tov. Rabban Gamliel matir. Rabban Gamliel permits. Rabbi Yoshua osir. But Rabbi Yoshua forbids it. Amar Rav Yehuda. Amar Shmuel, and Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel says, Halacha Rabbi Yoshua, that the law in this case would be like Rabbi Yoshua. Ve'ika dematne la'aha. And there are those, however, who teach this whole incident this way. The Tanya, as we're taught elsewhere in another Braita, right? The following, right? Shochtin min ha nagarin, that it's possible to slaughter, okay, those animals who come to drink out of small ditches or small ponds of water on Yom Tov. Avalo min harishatot u'min hamachmurot, but not from animals that are caught in nets or that are caught in traps. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, he says, Bo umatza'an mekukalin me'erev Yom Tov. Okay? If you come and check your traps on the eve of the holiday and you see, let's say, the traps are sprung or that something is caught in there, biyadua shemei erev Yom Tov nitzodu umutarin. Then you know that the animal was caught erev Yom Tov, right? And it would be permitted. Ba umatza'an mekukalin biyom tov. Okay, if you come and check your traps in Yom Tov and you find that it's sprung or that there's something there in the trap, biyadua shebiyom tov nitzodu. Then you know for sure that it was on the holiday itself that it was trapped. Va'asurin, and that's forbidden. But the Gemara now says, hold on a second. Ha gufa kashya. This explanation itself is problematic. Okay?
Can't follow it.
Amart, because on the one hand you say, ba umatzan mekukalim mi erev yom tov. If you come and you find it sprung or something's with it there, with the trap or the net, right? On the eve of Yom Tov, biyadua shemei erev Yom Tov nitzado, that it would be known to you that the animal was captured on erev Yom Tov. Tama, the reasoning that would seem to be there, de ba umatzan mekukalim, okay, that when you find the trap or the net already, whatever it is, hasfeka, there is a doubt. And if there's a doubt, asurin, it should be considered forbidden. Ema seifa. And then I say, look at the end of the statement. Ba'umatza'an mekukalin biyom tov. You say that if you come and find the traps or nets, sprung or affected on Yom Tov, biyadua shebiyom tov nitzaudu, it would be known that it was captured on Yom Tov. Tama, the reason being, the ba'umatza'an mekukalim, that you came and found it, right, trapped, whatever, sprung. Ha, svega. But here we have again a doubt. Me erev Yom Tov nitzodu umutarin, that maybe the animal was actually caught erev Yom Tov and therefore should be permitted. So hachi ka'ama, this is what it means to tell us, right? Ba umatza'an mekukalin mi erev Yom Tov. If one comes and finds the traps sprung or worked on erev Yom Tov, biyadua sheme erev Yom Tov nitzodu, then it's known that the animal was caught, hunted erev Yom Tov, umutarin, and it's permitted. Ha sveka, but if there's a doubt, ne'asa kami shenitzodu biyom tov va'asurin, then it's as if we would assume that the animal was actually caught on Yom Tov, and then it would be forbidden. So, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel again. What does he say? Halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, and therefore the law is like Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Okay, Va'amar Mutarin Hain. Remember, Rabbi Gamliel said those fish were permitted. Mutarin lemai, permitted for what? Rav Amar Mutarin lekabel. Rav says they're permitted to be received. In other words, you could accept the gift, but you can't eat it on Yom Tov. Right? The Levi Amar, and Levi says Mutarin ba'achila, that they're actually permitted to be eaten on Yom Tov. Now we have a little side piece. Amar Rav, says Rav. Leolam al yimne adam atzmo mi beit hamidrash. Says Rav, a person should really never skip class, so to speak. Okay, never eliminate his attendance at the base midrash. Afilu sha'achat, even 1 hour. Why? Da'ana v'Levi havinin kame derabi, because I and Levi were both in front of Rebbe. Ki amra lahashma'ata be'orta, when he said that particular lesson in the evening. Amar mutarin ba'achila. He said it would be permitted for eating. B'tzafra, but in the morning, amar mutarin lekabel. He said no, that it was only permitted to be received.
Oh, so that's why they had to stay there.
Ana, I, dahave be midrasha, that I was in the base midrash that morning. Hadre be, I therefore saw, in other words, that Rebbe recanted his earlier statement, and therefore I would recant. Levi, the lo hava be midrasha, Levi, who wasn't in the base midrash that morning, lo hadar be, he didn't recant the statement, and therefore he taught in the name of Rebbe the incorrect way. Okay, May Tive. Now we'll raise a challenge to this story, okay, with the Braita. Nochri, Shehevi Doron Yisrael, a Gentile who brought a gift to a Jew. And let's assume for the moment that was foodstuffs on Yom Tov, right? Afilu dagim hamafulamim, even if it were moist fish. Uperot b'nei yoman, and they were fruit that were the same day. Mutarin, says this Braita, they're permitted. Bishleima laman da'amar mutarin lekabel. That's acceptable to the one who said that it's permissible to accept them. Shapir, that's well. Ela laman da'amar mutarin ba'achila. But according to the one who said that they were permitted to be eaten, which was Levi, remember? Perot b'nei yoman, misharu ba'achila. But fruit from the very same day that it's picked, is that permitted to be eaten? I know the answer would be, of course not. That's not the case. Ulata'amech, and according to that, your line of reasoning,
If you picked it on Yom Tov.
it's not muchan, right? It's not ready to be used on Yom Tov.
But if you picked it. on
If
Yom
it
Tov,
fell
yeah.
from the tree, okay? And therefore, in other words, and then you come and you see it there lying on the ground, okay, it's available, it's acceptable, but you can't pick it off the tree to be able to eat it on Yom Tov.
But if you picked it off the tree on Yom Tov,
Yeah,
can you eat it after Yom Tov?
could be. Let's see what the Gemara addresses. All right.
It's not a sword.
Right. Well, the question would be, let's say in Eretz Yisrael, where it's one day, you might say yes. In Chutz La'aretz, in diaspora, in Bavel, they might say no. Okay, because you don't know which day, right, is actually the day of Yom Tov. So you'd have to argue if I picked it on the first day, can I say that wasn't actually Yom Tov, so I can eat it today? But if actually yesterday was Yom Tov and I picked it, okay, I shouldn't have picked it on Yom Tov, so I really can't eat it.
I thought he was talking about after Yom Tov, even
After-
after the second.
Oh,
day.
after the second day.
I'm thinking that if you pick it on Yom Tov, you can't eat it.
I mean, not at all.
Well, when you picked it,
Right,
it became upset.
that could be. Right. Ulutamech perod b'nei yoman. Here we're going to give another reason. And as far as your reasoning, if those fruit were really only a day old, misharu batiltu, are they even permitted in being moved? In other words, even being carried, right? So that's your answer. They would be muktzah and they can't be used.
But it's talking about Yom Tov. It doesn't mean that the fruit itself is asur. The fruit
Right.
itself is permitted.
Okay.
So you can eat it after the second day Yom Tov.
So it just says now.
Right. So
Well,
let's
that's
see
what
that.
it's saying.
Yeah,
Right.
I hadn't gotten that far.
Okay. Ele bekavare da'adime. Okay, but what are we talking about? Fish where the gills are still red. Upere de kavishe biyaka askina. And in terms of the fruit, we're talking about fruit that's been wrapped up in greens and some sort of thing. In other words, something wrapped so it stays fresh. Okay, so that's the issue. So we don't have a problem. So the Gemara asks, "V'amai kari lahu b'nei yoman." So why did they call them day-old fruit? Shehein ke'ein b'nei yoman, because it's as if they are. In other words, they're that fresh by having been wrapped up that they appear like that. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, Hilchata, according to the law, Nachri shehevi daron liYisrael b'yom tov. Right, if the Gentile brings the gift to the Jew on Yom Tov, im yesh me'oto hamin b'mechubar asur. If that same variety is still there attached to the tree, we assume that it may have been picked on the day and therefore it is forbidden. The Erev, and in the evening, okay, Nami asurim b'chdei sheyasu. And in the evening, then, it would only be forbidden for as long as a period of time that the prohibited labor could have taken place. That's b'chdei sheyasu, right? In other words, whatever time it took for the person to perform that melacha on Yom Tov, that's the amount of time the person has to wait after Yom Tov before they can eat the item. Right. Ve'im ein me'oto hamin b'mechubar, and if there is not of that variety attached, right? Toch hatchum mutar. So long as it's within the Tchum Shabbos, it's permitted, he says. Chutz l'tchum asur, but outside of the Tchum, that would be forbidden. V'haba b'shvil, right? Yisrael, ze mutar liYisrael acher. And if one brought it for a particular, in other words, if the Gentile brought it for Zev, okay, since he was the one intended for, he couldn't eat it. But if the Gentile then gave it to you, Ted, okay, you could eat it. Right? That's the implication of the end of the statement there. And we'll stop right up there because that's a new, okay, a new item. All right. So everybody have a good Shabbos, all right, wherever you are. Okay. All right. And continue to enjoy Yontif and family.
Thank you, Robert Green. You too. Thank you very much. You too. Be well.
Yep. Everyone have a good Shabbos.
Everyone be well. Harvey regards.
You too. Take care.
Okay.